So again, we the debtors are at the mercy of the people whose salary we pay. Welcome back to Wine and Chill. I'm Stephanie, your favorite recovering lawyer, and every month, once a month, we discuss what's going on with student loan forgiveness, the lawsuits, the legislation, and how much progress I've made towards my six-figure student loan payoff. And because I'm filming in the morning, we're drinking water. Alright, our agenda is going to be first, all these videos are always retroactive, so since this is going out on the absolute last day of April, this will be what I paid in March. Then we're going to take a quick look into what is going on across a lot of the school districts in the United States, which is the banning of books, and it is a shame, and how that is also trickling into higher education as well. And in terms of, lastly, student loan updates, the GOP has proposed a new bill that will not only gut student loan forgiveness, it will send us all back into repayment, as well as has the potential to stop federal Pell Grants for around 80,000 students. Yeah. So let's get into it. So my starting student loan balance, if you are new here, was a whopping $304,680.17 trifling cents. And that amount is, first of all, when I started to pay off my student loans a little bit over 3 years ago, February 14th, 2020. And that is inclusive of $75,000 of trifling interest. Because our Senate and our House of Representatives sets the interest rates. And they thought it was appropriate to set certain interest rates at whopping 7.21%, which is my highest student loan interest rate. The amount I paid in March was $500. I'm sticking with the $500 full-time creator allocation. And I've made peace with it. It's fine. It's going to be interesting because every time I do try to, since a lot of you are also paying off your student loans, try to, insert how y'all feeling, how am I feeling, how are we collectively feeling, we the debtors. And for the past couple months, I've just been trucking along, to be honest. I'm like, okay, I made the payment. $500 is a significant amount of money, but it's not the most money I've ever paid towards my student loans. Working in corporate, my last legal job as a lawyer in tech was $165,000 a year, and I used to make $5,000 payments. This is significantly less, but to be honest, I've been living a little bit more life, and I've been a little bit happier now that I'm not just forking over all of my money towards my student loans. And largely the reason why I'm doing this is because I only have 3 remaining federal student loans. These are my largest student loans from law school, and they're currently all in forbearance at 0% interest, which, if the GOP has their way, that will be gone by the end of the year, which we'll talk about in a second. My remaining student loan balance is $164,273.97 trifling cents. And in 3-ish years, it's been 3 years and 2 months, but who's counting, of paying off these student loans, I have paid an estimated $151,794.63. I have essentially bought myself a small condo, but only half of the condo. And it's not really a condo, it is just a piece of paper. For an education that should have been free. It's okay. Like I said, I feel fine. I've just come to terms with it, I think, to be quite frank, because it's preposterous. Speaking of things that are preposterous, in this week's live stream, we covered Ron DeSantis, who is being sued by Disney World because Ron DeSantis is giving the vibe that he is an aspiring autocrat. And that is my personal assessment, assessed because he has passed many laws in the state of Florida, including banning books that have anything to do with quote-unquote critical race theory. These books have nothing to do with actual CRT. CRT is taught first and foremost as an elective in law schools, as well as in some colleges as an elective. The books that he has been banning have to do with racial history that he has termed to be racism. He has also banned, and the reason why Disney is in a lawsuit against Ron DeSantis, he has banned any books that have to do with the LGBTQ plus community, specifically under the law which has been termed the Don't Say Gay bill. In the live stream we did earlier this week, we discussed the bill as well as the lawsuit and the fact that Disney, after being pushed rightfully by their employees to say something, Ron DeSantis and the Florida government have allegedly retaliated against Disney. And And I say allegedly as a lawyer because it's still an allegation. However, Ron DeSantis and numerous of his cabinet members in the state of Florida have literally said they have gone after Disney World because Disney World has gone against the Don't Say Gay bill. It is literally in writing. On that note, sadly, Florida is not the only state proposing banning books based on racial history, specifically Black history, having to do with racism in this country, books about the LGBTQ plus community. It has recently been passed in the Tennessee House that they are now instructing a further book ban. The bill will allow a textbook commission to pull books from the public school library system. Yeah, there are a lot of books written about what happens when the government does these types of things. And the textbook commission is further allowed to review what is deemed appropriate and what is deemed inappropriate. However, there is some hope. There are people who are going online fighting against this, as well as a coalition of mothers in Texas who are fighting back, stating that their children should have access to be seen, heard, and read about in the school system. If America wants to live up to its ideal of being an actual melting pot and not just a sad, soggy salad, we're going to have to read some books, some literature. We're going to have to teach the children the actual history of this country, the current lived reality of many people. Ignoring it doesn't make it not a fact. So I highly recommend, if you are a parent or if you have a sibling, or to be honest, you are a concerned neighbor, going to the school board meetings and voicing your concern that yes, books about all types of people in this country should be taught to our children. Speaking of schools, let's move to higher education and the now proposed gutting of the student loan forgiveness plan. Last month, I believe we covered SCOTUS, the oral arguments that they heard based on student loan forgiveness and whether or not the two lawsuits to cancel student loan forgiveness should move forward. And unfortunately, that was looking a little bit grim. However, we have something more eminent to discuss today because, as I stated last time, the court system is very slow. The Supreme Court is extremely slow, slower than molasses. And so while we wait for them to issue their opinion, likely in June, the GOP has taken it upon itself to propose a new bill. And this new bill will literally gut student loan forgiveness. A truncated summary of despair and foolishness. The proposed new bill would restart payment for everyone. The student loan service providers have already stated they are not ready to restart payment, and it would cause commotion on their end because a lot of them have downsized due to the pandemic. It would permanently bar the Department of Education from issuing any future regulation that raises costs for the federal student aid program. Again, the education system in this country needs a holistic lift because if we actually care about people and you want an informed society, then we need a better public education system. So then the education department chimed in that if this passed, this would require the education department to cut its program and its funding by about 22%. And the education department likely would take that money out of the Pell Grant program. Pell Grants are given to students in need when they attend college. I received Pell Grants all 4 years of my undergrad. It paid for a cute little chunk of change of my tuition and my 75% Bright Future Scholarship for going to school in Florida and being from Miami paid for the rest of it. It was great. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to afford college and would have incurred more loans. In law school, we see what happened to that debt. Yeah. It snowballed. And specifically, the Department of Education estimates not only would it have to cut Pell Grants, the amount of Pell Grants would be for at least 80,000 students. To which the Republicans fired back and stated, well, we didn't say anything about the Pell Grants. Stop being dramatic. Stop being dramatic. Y'all are not only going to cut student loan forgiveness, a lifeline to millions of people in this country who deserve to have their student loans forgiven because it should have been free in the first place. And again, as somebody who does not qualify for student loan forgiveness, as a recovering lawyer, I did make a cute coin in corporate. So I don't meet the threshold of $125,000 or less adjusted gross income. I made significantly more than that. As a full-time content creator for the past 9 months, I would meet the threshold now. Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. They're only looking at 2020 and 2021 income tax returns, but I'm rooting for everyone else because that's what a decent person does. Decent people don't want other people to suffer just because they're suffering. To the defunding of education as a whole in the United States, we are having lots of issues in this country, which is to get a decent education, you now have to pay so much money, get into debt, and work yourself. and work yourself. This bill was literally proposed yesterday, and for key context, the provisions are among dozens of policy changes and spending caps that House Republicans included in their 320-page legislation to raise the debt limit by $1.5 trillion or until March of next year, whichever comes first. So currently, what is going on in the news, the large headline is the raising of the debt ceiling for this very much needed infrastructure bill and program. America's literally crumbling. The bridges are falling. We need some better infrastructure. The subway in New York was cleaned for the first time in 100 years in 2020. I'm all for it. However, it is very sneaky for them to have then put in the bill, yeah, we'll fix the bridges, but also F the people that have student loans. Interestingly enough, in response to this, the thought is that Biden will veto this legislation if it passes. So again, we the debtors are at the mercy of the people whose salary we pay. So I will keep y'all updated as we follow now both this new legislation and the continuing Supreme Court case. Alright, I'll catch y'all in the next video.